Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Prue.
This is Bryce Vine.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This
East.
is Sebastian Younger.
This is Daryl.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
This is Dr. Bob Greenberg.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Hey, I've
got a minor version of that today.
Can I start? Or are you going to keep yapping?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Whenever you're ready, Pete.
Okay. Hey, this is Pete A. Turner. Now that I've got enough space from Richard to talk on my own show, we're gonna kick off tonight's album fight. Holy fuck, this is a good one. First things first, let's get Phil to do the corner call for us.
This week's album fight is a juicy 10-round peach of a matchup between two bands from Athens, Georgia. In the red corner, we have the Beehive hairdos and thrift shop quirkiness of the B52s with their fifth studio album from 1989, Cosmic Thing. And their opponent in the blue corner, a band that helped define alternative rock with their obscure lyrics and distinctive sound, we have REM and their sixth studio album from 1988, Green. Let's get ready to ramble. Take it away, judges.
All right. And now we're going to have Richard give us, give us your patent pending fight analysis.
This week's fight pits friend against friend, with REM taking on their fellow Athens, Georgia band, the B52s. For those of you who weren't around, the late 70s, early 80s Athens music scene was profoundly important in influencing what would later be called alternative music in the early 90s. And two of the most important bands are in the ring this week. Let's take a look at the numbers. This fight is close. And when I mean close, I mean even after adding a couple of additional parameters into the patent-pending formula, it came out as a tie. In looking at the popularity parameters, Cosmic Thing gets 3 of the 4, and the one they didn't win was a tie. In the 3 critics parameters, REM takes them all, leaving us with a 3-3-1 tie. And then the question is, how do we break the tie? Because if I don't have a definitive prediction, Pete will call me a pussy. So while I don't have a specific protocol for selecting a winner in a tie situation, I think we'll do a little experiment this week. Which has more weight with the judges, popularity or critics? Only going off memory, it seems the judges lean towards the critic numbers and not the sales numbers. I don't think our sample size is quite big enough to declare that law yet, but I'm willing to stand by the numbers here today and say REM takes this one in a squeaker, 6-4. And I guess it could be a split vote with possibly one judge giving it a 5-5 draw. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, so fellas, now that we're about to start, let me tell you who the guest judges are and everything today. So co-hosting with me, I guess technically you guys are both co-hosting, so we actually have Richard sitting in studio with us, and he's going to also host another one of our favorite judges, Brian Theis. And so we are all going to discuss this crazy album fight. Fellas, REM versus the B52s, what do you think?
I think it was awesome fun. I think it was a blast. Some fights can be, the styles can be a little bit different, and it can make it not hard listening, but just kind of jolting. But the whole way through was just fun. Just fun.
Brian?
Yeah, it's the B52s. It's supposed to be fun. It was a fun fight.
How big are you guys on the B52s? Where do they stand in your pantheon of rock bands?
I hated them growing up. My brother was a fan, and he would play them, but I was never a fan until recently. I started liking them, after college, and I started listening more. But growing up now, I didn't like them at all.
I would say, where do I see them in the pantheon? I mean, they're important in the sense that the scene they came from, Athens, which I'm sure we're going to be talking quite a bit about, and the fact that they are wholly unique in terms of their sound and their look and kind of the way they've kind of presented their career and stuff. They were always all right for me, but I did see them at a festival 2 or 3 years ago, and it was a fucking blast. They put for people probably in their 60s or late 50s, early 60s, they had more energy than any of the 20-year-old bands that were up there. They are a fun band.
I love it. Yeah, for me, I look at them and they are so special in their own right. I would almost say that they deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It sounds hard. It's hard to say out loud, but then you realize like there's so many hits on this album. And I was going to ask you, Richard, also, and I don't want to get going too long because we're all going to be yakking all night, but we'll quickly get through these things. Their body of work is huge. Planet Claire, Rock Lobster. I mean, there's songs all over the place that make them an important band. Even if nobody else is following, they're just accepted with their weirdness. And I'm not sure that bands don't follow. So, and then the way they took surf music and all these other things and put them together and created a totally new sound, and I just think that they're fantastic. What do you guys think about that bold statement of being at least near Hall of Famers, if not in?
I don't have a problem with that, really. I think if this album didn't exist, then you'd probably have a harder argument. But I think Rome and Love Shack alone put them in a high place. Now that alone isn't going to get you in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But then, like I said, go back their importance in the Athens scene and how Athens shaped college radio, and then college radio turned into what was later coined by the industry, alternative music. They are pioneers, much like Blondie, much like going back to like Kraftwerk and Talking Heads and bands like that. They just weren't as huge as some of those other bands were, but I think they're just as important.
Yeah, and I think what they did for their scene, for New Wave and for Athens, I think they're Hall of Fame worthy for sure, especially after this album.
All right, well, let's see how they all do in the ring. Let's just go ahead and get this thing started. Round one. Brian, why don't you kick us off? Cosmic Thing versus Pop Song 89. Let's just get to swinging. Brian, what do you have?
Cosmic Thing, man. It kicks off with this interstellar dance party. I love the imagery they provide with the lyrics, like gyrate till you've had your fill, just like a pneumatic drill. That's something Richard knows about. Like the freight train with a loose caboose, and I saw the alien beings shaking their alien things and shake your honey buns. Just a fun way to kick off the album. Pop Song 89. It's a fun song about, vacuous conversations. Should we talk about the weather, the government? I appreciate the guitar work and the percussive fills. I like the pacing and tempo. Yeah, I've read that REM kind of did it as a goof, just as a fun song, and it plays that way. But in the end, I just picked the song that made me happier when I listened to it, so it was 10-9 B52s.
Richard, how did you have the round?
I had it going a little bit differently than that. I did point out that these were interesting starts for these albums, because both of these albums are kind of transitional albums where they turn into from less college bands to more mainstream bands. But these two songs are both reminiscent of the old college days. So I liked that as the beginning of the album. As far as Cosmic Thing, I wrote great energy. It's this weird Western sci-fi feel to it. But what the hell is Fred? I've never he's not really a lead singer.
He's not a change of pace guy, but he's both of those things.
He's Flavor Flav.
He is completely unique in rock music, in the type of music that they were playing then. You didn't have Hollaback Girls or anything like that kind of thing, but he is unique to rock and roll. I don't know what he is, but I dig it. And then here, and Pete and I, we talk about this all the time. I did not like the synth choices and the overly 80s production on the synth on this, which I'll get into that in just a second. It was too R&B for this song. The style, I felt, kind of interfered with their kind of weirdness and sci-fi-ness, and it lifts heavily if you go back and listen to it, especially at the ending to Let's Go Crazy by Prince. And then this started driving me crazy. Like, why is there this weird mix in here? Nile Rodgers produced this track.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of times, which he's a genius, don't get me wrong. The man is awesome. But there are times when I think he was trying to incorporate too much stuff from kind of his R&B world into that, and I think it clashed a little bit in a few songs. Definitely makes up for it later. But as far as REM goes, it sounds like older REM, and then I wrote down, because it's very important, because I'll mention this more than once tonight, Mike Mills is an underrated bass player and the MVP of REM in my book, and I just think it's a solid REM song. I do like the tongue-in-cheekness of it, though. I like that because there's kind of a twisted kind of irony and a little bit of snarkiness to the song that I enjoy. So I gave that 10-9 pop song.
You can hear his influence right away on the guitar, and that's, a little bit of a surprise because the B52s kind of don't play by the rules with what the guitar is going to do. Where REM has that known jangle sound that it really stands out when they don't do it. You're never surprised at what they do. Are they doing Dick Dale? Are they doing whatever? They do whatever they want. But here you heard right away. The one thing that I thought about with Cosmic Thing, though, is that I know that Love Shack is out there, and this is akin to Love Shack, but not nearly as good. And I don't know how they miss it. I don't know what's missing. But there's something in this song that just isn't there. Not to say that this is filler by any means. This is a solid song. It's just hard to have a hit with the same kind of song twice. I love the lyric, just like you, Brian. I think it's great. And when I look at pop song, I think about these are two bands that are established enough to make whatever choices they want and courageous enough. They've hung out together. And so they both know that at this point in their career what they can do and pull off. And so what's weird for them is not what's weird for other bands. It would be really uncomfortable for them. I think these guys playing weird really well. So in terms of REM, I'll just say I was on them early. I listened to a station out here called The Quake, and they sort of led the way on this kind of thing. And I was lucky enough in my middle school days to catch the new wave as it was first starting. REM and U2 were basically like sibling bands, like old world, new world, cousins that had been separated.
Yep.
Very similar in their approach and everything else. And they were two of the bands that broke out of that cohort and really expanded out to worldwide acts. And REM, this is not that REM though. This is them saying we've got our first big time corporate deal. We're going to do it our way and have our creative freedom. And they do, yeah. They poke fun at the pop thing. Like, you remember when this one goes out to the one I love, that song broke, and it was like that started to make them matter. And then this album really made them matter across the world. So they're, like you said, Richard, you got to mention it. Like, if you want to talk about college rock, REM is the godfather of that. They are the apex band for that whole genre, because if you were in the know, you read Rolling Stone, and Rolling Stone always talked about it, and always the college rock scene was dominated by REM. So this one for me is pretty easy. I wanted to ask you guys, do you think, is that Kate Pearson uncredited in the part of the backing for Pop Song 89, that female voice?
I think I might have the answer to that right in front of me. Give me just a second.
Because it's buried in the mix. She's way back there, and it may not even be...
I don't think she sings with them until...
Shining Happy People?
Until the next album. Yeah, I don't think she does. But no.
Okay. Well, either way.
Jane. Oh, here it is. Nope. That's cello. Never mind. Nope.
So, anyhow, I had this REM 10-9. Let's go. Round 2. Richard, Get Up, and Dry Country. What do you have?
Neither song in this round was super strong for me. That said, I really, really found Dry Country to be forgettable. It felt like 3 songs crammed into one. And it was just piecing together a bunch of 80s cliches. Again, this was the point when I looked back on my research to see who produced it and realized that Nile did both of these. And it's just, again, it's heavy on the 80s production that I hate. Odd choice of synths and certain mixing genres that I don't think really mixed really well. The only reason this wasn't a 10-8 round is I just didn't think Get Up has never been a song that's really worked huge for me. I did kind of credit them for kind of showing a newer sound. Interesting back vocals from Mike Mills. There's some interesting parts to it, but do they make a great song? I wasn't quite sure. And this one also feels like 2 songs kind of put together. And also Stipe kind of struggled on his vocals on this one, which is surprising.
Do you think when he does that, is he doing that on purpose to let his voice break and be vulnerable?
Well, I kind of thought, I kind of let myself think that, but I felt like there could have been another way he could have done it. Because he does this similar thing in other songs of theirs that works. I just didn't think what he was trying to do worked with this particular song. So I went 10-9 on this round for REM.
So I had Get Up. This is a funny thing, and these things happen all the time in album fights, where you have 2 songs that sort of go together unexpectedly. We have REM saying Get Up, and we have the B52s going, I might make it to the front porch swing. That's about all I'm going to do today. And so there's sort of a call and response, but I definitely, very similar notes. Get Up is a call to action to Mike Mills, like, come on, we got to go write these songs, we got to do this. And anytime you can be one of those songs, this is not like good morning, and what a lovely morning it is. It's not that at that level, but there's a lot of people that are going to sing Get Up to their kids, and it's going to get stuck in their heads, or they're going to play this song from Pink Floyd with all the clocks in it. I can't think of the name of the song right now. What is that song? Time. Oh yeah, some people are going to play Time from Pink Floyd, like Wes maybe talked about in his episode. But this is REM, writing one of those songs that, maybe it doesn't get onto another band's album, but again, they're not afraid of risks. They put it on there. I talked about the breaking of Michael's voice, but most importantly, that grooving bass line. And Mike Mills, while they make weird choices, he's just rock solid, and he's always going to deliver exactly what they need. And I think you're right. He doesn't get his...
You're preaching to the choir. I love it.
And then Bill Berry's idea of throwing all the music boxes in, that's exactly how a bunch of bros wake each other up. Like, hey, you're not going to get up, Mike? Here we all are playing all of our different music boxes at the same time. Like, it just really... The idea works in this song. It's something that where else would you put it in the album? Basically wherever the hell they want. But here it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And then Dry Country, it's the response to Get Up. Like, yeah, I'm going to get up. But these bands are not afraid to grab the shaker, too. Like, if one of them sees it out of the corner of their eye, they're going to grab it and start shaking. And they use the shakers nicely with stereo. I'm with you, Richard, that it is overproduced, this song especially. And one of the problems, I think, is that the B52s have so many tools at their disposal, and they have such a lack of fear of any of it, that sometimes you want to bring too many things in, because they always bring too many things in, and then they figure it out. So I think you're right. This is one of those times where, what saves them are those ladies. It's incredible, their voices, and then how Fred works. And I think that they work as a trio, where Fred sometimes changes pace, but even like when he leads, like when he sings in Planet Claire, it's he just has a thing, and their thing works with his thing, and they're almost like a horn section. They just sit there, and anything they sing, you'd instantly pay attention or push back by it. And that's what saves this song, is they can always go to that powerful tool, is the three of them just singing and taking a song and lifting it up. Without that combination, nothing else in this band really stands out. Yeah, you're quirky. A lot of bands do that. But it's those two ladies and Fred and the space they create. This one, for me, though, it's still 10-9 REM, because Dry Country just isn't up to the task. Brian, what did you do?
Both the songs in this round, they frustrated me. This the subject matter. In Get Up, I see it as the internal battle. You got the angel on one shoulder telling you to get up and start doing things, and you got the devil on the other shoulder telling you to go back to bed and do nothing. That part where they brought the music boxes in, you said it was more like a wake up. To me, it had kind of a dreamy lullaby quality, I thought. Dry Country, I love the funky sounding intro. The type of day they describe, the type of day where it's too damn hot to do anything and you just feel like laying around, it's the kind of day that really bothers me. I read a review where they said that the music was jumpy and impatient, which is exactly what those kind of days make me feel like. Personally, on those days, I usually kill the boredom by eating too much junk food and regretting it. So both songs in this round, they frustrated me. Picking a winner wasn't that easy, but in the end, I just thought REM did a little bit more musically, so I gave it to him 10-9.
I think you're totally right. I think the musical part, like the motif that the B52s used in the keys, like doing it on the keyboard, it wasn't enough to bring that weak song up to the level. You're totally right. Great call, man. Great call.
Yep. Nailed it.
Round 3. I'm going to go ahead and kick this one off. Deadbeat Club. Okay, look, that drum lick, that is just like the 80s staple. We've heard it from New Order, Fine Young Cannibals, Depeche Mode, and now the B52s. It's fine. It's just we've heard this a lot. So I'm like, oh gosh. But then they start singing, and I love it. I love the autobiographical nature. I love that their folks called them deadbeats, because of course you would. When Fred shows up to his parents and says, I think I'm going to be in a band and be a rock star. Right? And I'm going to invent this role that Richard can't even define 40 years later. It's impossible. So of course they're deadbeats. And I love like when the southern accent sneaks in. So when Kate says buzz, and it's just southern, and it's great. All the southern stuff here. And I love the line, dancing torn sheets in the rain. It doesn't mean anything, but it means everything. It's exactly how they are. They're just They're going to live this life, and they're going to find a party, and it's just great. I think Fred and Keith are nailing the B52s thing. It's such a great thing. They create so much tension and space and emotion with what they do. Fred's ability, he's not harmonizing right, but it's call and response to like, Deadbeat Club, Deadbeat Club.
Deadbeat Club!
Oh, it's just so goddamn good. You can't help but love it.
I love it.
Yeah, there's tons of attention. There's some great doubling that goes on in the singing. And just, if you are slipping on and sleeping on B52s, this is what's going to crush you right here. This song is excellent. There's just so much love in this song, and I love it. Singing about skinny dipping in the moonlight, of course these guys do that stuff. This is the stuff that you want to do. And we've got our first crossover between REM official and B52s in this fight when Michael Stipe makes an appearance in the video. So look, this is a great song. Oh, you know what else I realized too, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this. There's a couple of shots of a heavily made up, like black and white makeup Fred with a gold shimmering suit jacket, and I thought, did Bono get inspired by some of Cosmic Thing in the videos? Because it looks like a Southern Macfisto. And I thought, God damn, that could really be a thing.
All roads lead to you too.
Well, no, I think all these roads lead to each other. I think they're all drawing inspiration from one another.
I don't think that's crazy. I don't think it's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities, and you'll see, like, Automatic for the People and U2. Like, there's just so many bonds between these bands. I
can talk those two bands, REM and U2, for days. I mean, there's so much.
If I ever get Bono on, I'm going to ask him. I'm like, how much stuff is in there that's the B52s and REM in the Athens scene? And like you said, Richard, that scene's influence is huge. So it was a big thing. You're the Everything. This is the band saying, we're going to do what we want to do. We're going to break out an accordion. And, again, there's a shaker over there. It's not being shook, so someone starts shaking that thing. And this is not REM being REM. This is them getting away from the jangle and playing jangle on the mandolin. So textures galore, lots of Beatles influence in this song. And if you don't hear it, you hear it in the choice of the mandolin and the layering and the textures that they put in. That's straight out of late Beatles. It's super fantastic, grabbing alternate instruments and creating new perspectives, and I just love the heck out of that. It's not Deadbeat Club. It's not even close to Deadbeat Club, but it is 10-9 B52s. Brian, what did you do?
Well, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with you, Pete. Deadbeat Club, the timing was appropriate because you and I had a conversation on Twitter just last week about me playing a Beastie Boys song in my English class as part of a project, and you telling your parents you wanted to be a professional wrestler. So they were both questioning our life directions. Like you said, the B52s in this song, they're responding to being called deadbeats, and it's an okay song. It's got a decent beat, but for me, it just drags on too long and just doesn't have the energy that I like to hear out of this band. For You Are Everything, You Are the Everything, the song features a mandolin and an accordion, and it does a really good job of making this dreamy quality when they pair it up with Stipe's vocals. It's almost like a therapy session, I said. I think he lays out a scenario that's causing anxiety, and he talks his way through it. Here's a scene. All you hear is time stand still, the greatest thing you've ever seen. For you alone are the everything. I think it's a beautiful affirmation, well presented. It's a close your eyes and feel the music type of song. In the end, I scored it a knockdown. I gave it 10-8 for REM.
Wow. Oof. REM takes a shot. Blasts him. All right, good job. Richard, what about you?
Well, I'm going to be the voice in the middle here. This is very interesting because I fought this because I wanted to go 10-10. But I ended up giving it to REM, and I'll explain that here in a second. But as far as Deadbeat Club, I noted it was significantly better than the first two tracks. Cindy and Kate centric, super strong song. Still a bit overproduced, but not too much. And then these are my exact words. Fred cracks me up. Did he have the equipment when they started the band? Because you got this song with this beautiful harmony and these beautiful women singing, and then he just Deadbeat Club right in the middle of it, and it should not work, but it does. It's great. But when getting on to REM here, this is early signs of things to come for them.
Yeah,
it's kind of the future that you're going to see in their next several albums, especially Out of Time. The vocals are on point where I kind of criticized them last round. They're perfect here. There's a great melody to this song, and then I wrote mandolin plus accordion, fantastic. Mike Mills, again, genius. Then I noted, this sounds contemporary. It's sincere. And then the piano right at the end, and it was only for like a few bars. They just added a little piano in there, is really what pushed it over the edge for me, in that this was such a well thought out and well put together song. And you talk about the Beatles, the song it sounds like is All You Zombies by the Hooters.
All right.
Right around the same time. This just, to me, this scratches every musical itch for me right here. Just the way the song's put together, the instrumentation in this, the melody in this, and the vocals. When Stipe's vocals are on, they're perfect. They're perfect for that band. And I just so I ended up giving it 10-9 for REM this round. It was hard though. I'm with you, Pete. I really like that song a lot. I really do like Deadbeat Club.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, look, why don't you keep going, Richard? Round 4, The Stand versus Love Shack.
All right, you're making me start this one, huh? Okay, round 4. Now, I also noted here that this is the first Don Was song on this album. And you can immediately tell Don Was is producing this. It just, because he fits their sound perfectly. This is an iconic song. It even makes me want to dance, and I never dance. If there was any other song this was up against, it would probably almost be a guaranteed knockdown, but it's not. And it's just, who can't love this song? I don't know if it's possible for anyone just to listen to that and go, I don't like that. I don't think anybody cannot like that. It is just one of those songs that came out at the perfect time. Perfect song, video. It matched the band perfectly. If you want to sell a product, this album, this is the song that's going to sell it. Then over to REM, I wrote Dripping with Irony. It's a classic song. It's conflicted. My problem with it is I don't particularly like happy REM very much. I think Shiny Happy People works because it's so ironic that they don't mean it. And so therefore it works. This song, songs like Superman and songs like Into the World, it has the juxtaposition in them that balance the song out where they're not just saccharine, syrupy sweet. And that's the only downside of this. So I still like the song and everything fine, but it's going up against fucking Love Shack. What are you going to do, I just personally, for my personal preference, prefer sincere, maybe a little morose REM over happy REM. But it's a cool song. So 10-9 for B52s on this round.
What about you, Brian? How did you do it?
All right, Stand. I read that the song was intended as a goof. It's an homage to bubblegum pop hits with absolutely no meaning behind them. Peter Buck has called it the stupidest song they've ever written, but also said that's not a bad thing. What it is fun. I like the calliope-sounding intro with the guitar. It's a lyrical earworm that bores into your brain and propagates wildly, and that's not a bad thing. It was the theme song to a forgettable and forgotten Chris Elliott sitcom, but I'm not going to hold that against it. But it's going against Love Shack, and I got so much to say about this song. First and foremost, it's the greatest family carpool karaoke song possibly ever. You get my family of 4 in the minivan, and the whole Honda is shimmying. My wife is banging on the door. The little one can't hear her. The oldest one has a Chrysler as big as a whale. It's pure gold. The only improvement would be swapping the minivan for the 1972 Chevy Caprice that my mom used to have. That car was so big she'd have to back it out of the garage to do laundry because she couldn't open the dryer. This song, it also has a profound effect on me. I'm not much of a dancer, but when Love Shack starts playing, I can't help it. I'm doing the monkey, right? When I'm driving, it's okay because I can keep one hand on the wheel. But when it comes on at like Kohl's over the speakers, and I start doing the monkey, the kids, they hide. They go dive behind the coat racks and whatnot because they don't want to be associated with. My wife's grabbing me and kissing me, trying to get me to stop. It's just freaking awesome. Yeah. So in this monster of a round, it's a double red circle round in terms of both sides. I wound up scoring at 10-9 for the B52s.
Man, that was a great piece of analysis, Brian. Maybe your best one yet. That was really awesome. I want to take a moment and just congratulate you. I love doing this because I love those moments, Like that is why this song is great. You nailed it.
And unfortunately, the listeners won't get the visuals that we just got, and that made it even better.
I had to do the monkey, I know.
Doing the monkey. Brian did the monkey was awesome.
Yeah, so I'm going to do Stand is fun, and it's meant to be a pop homage, like you guys said. You know, what else can I add to the conversation? You guys have nailed that part. And like you said, Richard, this is not necessarily the REM I want. We've already heard Pop Song kind of doing the same thing. And, you know, they're not taking themselves too serious, and that's cool. But this song, for me, is a little bit close to filler. It's not filler, but we've already heard them do this. So are they running out of ideas already? Man, I sure hope not. And, of course, like you said, Brian, it's going against Love Shack. So the Zeroth thing, because I had to come back and mention this, and I already wrote the first thing. So Zeroth this has got roots to Rock Lobster, and Rock Lobster is another one of those songs where it compels you to move. You know, you have to. Cindy Wilson gets one of those moments. You know, people are like, I don't do karaoke. Well, when Cindy Wilson says Tin Roof Rusted, you do. Everybody
yells it in whatever bar, restaurant, department store. Everybody yells it.
If I'm at the Marie Callender's and it's on in the overhead track, and I'm like, Tin Roof. And I'm not the only one in Marie Callender's. You know, it's like any place where it plays, people are going to say that line. That is incredible. So this song it's complex. First off, let's also note this. Fred does a quick imitation of Elvis with his, baby line that he does. Another tie to REM in Man on the Moon, when Michael Stipe is singing and paying homage to Andy Kaufman. Michael Stipe does Andy Kaufman doing Elvis. A double imitation in a song, and you just never get that. So you have to stop and enjoy that for a second. This is what's great about Fred, Kate, and Cindy's. Who's singing lead in this song? It doesn't matter. They each take pieces of it, they sing it, and they deliver it. It's a pillar of a catalog for them. It's a pillar of any cover band It's any band that wants to get people moving, any DJ that wants to do that. You've got yourself a winner of a song. That absolutely smashes the stand. This is 10-8 B52s. All right, Brian. Round 5, Junebug versus World Leader Pretend.
All right, I'm going to start off with Junebug. It's a fun song. It's the B52s. It's supposed to be. But it's also the first song they wrote as a band after Ricky Wilson died. And it helped them realize that they could still do their thing. I think it's got a perfect album placement. A couple sneaks out of the Love Shack and heads down to the river for some semi-private hanky-panky with the animals and in the mud. You start hearing the swamp bugs before the beat kicks in and the fun begins. And no snakes, snappers, gators, or bugs are going to stop them. The little guitar bridge and the playful drums really set the scene. World Leader Pretend, this is the contrast. My hearing, it's highly questionable, I got to be honest, but it's almost as if Michael Stipe lowers his vocals an octave to try to set a real ominous sound to the song. The lyrics and the way they wrap around can be interpreted differently. You know, this is my world. I am a world leader. Pretend this is my life.
This episode of the Break It Down Show is brought to you by Lions Rock Productions.
That's us.
We publish, evaluate, and develop podcasts just like this one, consult others to build their own, and create associated content and content marketing strategies.
So if you're launching or expanding your social media presence, your business, or your personal brand, or if you just want to take your media presence to the next level,
reach out to us on Twitter
at Pete A. Turner
or at JohnLG69
at the Break It Down Show.
There's 1,000 ways to get a hold of us.
Now enjoy the show.
I am a world leader. Pretend this is my life. Where's the break? It's written as though he's the world leader. Pretend. It also kind of sounds like pretend this is my life. So, you know, is he a ruse? Is he being introspective? I don't know. In the end, I wound up scoring this one 10-9 for the B52s because Junebug was just more fun.
All right. I like it. That's a good reason to do it. For me, round 5, when the Bs don't get there, your B52s sing and they get that southern vibe going, the ladies get blowing, and Fred is being nowhere near normal, and the groove is good. Those things don't happen here. This for me is the weakest song in the album. And although touching in inspiration, it doesn't have it. Whereas on the other side, here's REM doing something. You're like, well, how the heck are you getting there? And you're right. So Michael Stipe says, you know, I love the nail. I love the low vocals. I went low. I nailed. He's like, they don't want to take, and that was it. This is the band at the height of their powers, taking a big risk, doing something they're not normally doing. And like you said, Brian, the lyrics in this song are wonderful, especially like right around verse 3, where it just opens up, and all the meanings are possible and twisting. So this is my world. I'm the world leader. Pretend. This is my life. This is my time. I've been given the freedom to do as I see fit. It's high time I raise the walls that I've constructed. And here he's using raise the walls as in knock them down, not raise them. They're already up. But it's also him talking about who they are as a band, who he is as a person, like, and what it means to be him. But also you can put it in all the other things. He's talking about Leonard Cohen in a lot of ways too. So I think this is a great song and something that really makes REM special, and the song that pretty much no other band could pull off. So I'm going to make this just right back at the B52s. This is 10-8 REM. All right, Richard, round 5. What do you got?
Fascinating. All right, well, let me go. I'm going to start with REM here. It's got a heavy One I Love vibe, which is one of my all-time favorite songs of theirs. Used to slide guitar in this. It's kind of spaghetti western feel to it. I've got Mike Mills' name underlined twice, which means I was really happy with what he contributed. This hits me in all the right places as far as REM goes, but this is a situation where the song v song, round v round structure, where it can change things, because probably I'm going to listen to this song 9 times out of 10 compared to Junebug. But just the way that this fight was structured, it was just so heavy and serious. And Junebug is just, I have the word fun with 3 underlines under it. It's just a fun song. The production is much better here. This is Don Was embracing kind of the weirdness. It feels a little bit more like old B52s than this kind of newer vibe and everything. So I gave it to the B52s on this round. I just the fun took away the seriousness of REM on this one. And I know it sounds kind of contrary to what I said the last round about I don't like happy REM, but in this circumstance, those 2 songs against each other, I gave it to the B52s, 10-9.
All right, well, let's get into round 6. The Wrong Child versus Rome. Okay, so here we have some proto-shoegazer rock from REM, following the model later on, our bands like Linkin Park and all those guys that are self-loathing. But, here's some lyrics Michael's reflecting on how uncomfortable he is, We're in the mind of a child, and I love using the mandolin here to kind of reveal these layered thoughts and voices, and kids are coming running towards him laughing, and as a kid that wasn't the wrong child, you're like, yeah, that's awesome, they're going to come hang out with you. And he's like, no, it's because I'm a fucking freak, and it's great. There's no drums, there's no bass, there's no keyboards, just a variety of strings to include like a violin even. So you've got a band that's, again, very comfortable taking a big risk, because that's huge wedges of what they do taken away from them, and it's really, really laid bare, and it really is just a whirlwind of mind thoughts coming out of this kid, and Michael sells that stuff well. It's a fantastic song. Of course, it's going against Rome, which is, goddamn, this is a very good song. I mean, seriously, like, what's not to love? And when you want to talk about, and I wanted to ask you specifically, Richard, because we've had this talk, but Brian, feel free to jump in. When we talk about those albums that are the 1%ers, the ones that I suggest that you've got to get by Huey Lewis and the News to get in, this is one of those albums where you're like, yeah, if you can beat this album, you're in special company, because this album for sure is in the club, and a song like Rome is the backbone of it. I mean, it calls to Wanderlust, and for me that the round is 10-9, but I want to ask you, Richard, do you put this album in the 1% club based on the strength of those things?
No, I can't put it a 1%er. It is, I think, and then my pre-fight kind of talks about it, these 2 albums are pretty equal. As far as you look at the numbers, whether it's from critical responses or popularity responses, this is probably the closest pre-fight the patent pending process has ever had that I can think of. That said, I do not think Green is a 1%er, so therefore I can't say this album is a 1%er. I will say this, Love Shack and Rome, you can say, are they 1%er songs? Yes. This album as a whole, no. 1%er, that's Joshua Tree, that's Bridge Over Troubled Water, that's Pet Sounds, and this isn't Pet Sound.
You're talking the high end of 1%ers, though. Like, to get into the 1% club, there's not a lot of space above this, because you also have Deadbeat Club.
Well, It wouldn't be 1% if it was easy to get in, though. So I don't think there's a bottom to the 1% club. Maybe
if you look at the pure numbers, there's a hell of a lot of albums out there that suck that we never even realized. I mean, if you take the body of work as a whole, is this in the top 1%? It's damn close.
No, this is. If I were to throw a percentage at it, I would say it's somewhere between 5 and 10, and that's still very, very high. But this didn't even register on one of the particular websites I use. It didn't even register in their overall ranking of albums, and I think Green was like 5,726, and Cosmic Thing didn't even register. So I'm not saying anything bad about the album. When I say 1%, it might be kind of a little bit different than in your mind. I think you're more talking about is this
is a masterpiece.
Is this so? No, it's not a masterpiece. It's excellent, but it's not a masterpiece.
Fair enough.
I think round 10's gonna be that nail.
All right, well, Rich, why don't you go ahead and give us the rest of round 6? What did you do?
I'm going to kind of start like you. First of all, Led Zeppelin reference. You can totally hear Battle of Evermore in The Wrong Child. If you listen to the beginning of it, that's the beginning of the Battle of Evermore. Mandolin and great guitar. It's dreamlike. It's gorgeous. I love this song, but like you said, it's going up against Rome. Great vocals and their harmonies between those two and the way they produced their vocals is so perfect. So perfect. And this is where Nile Rodgers redeems himself because he nails the production on this. The production on this is perfect. Perfect. And then I wrote, not much to say. It's great. And when we talked about doing this fight and I thought about this song, I was sure that I was going to be like, I bet I don't like Rome as much as I used to. Or I bet Rome isn't as good as I remember it. And I actually wrote in here, I actually like it more than I thought I did. This song, I think Love Shack is great, but I may like this a little bit more. I mean, Love Shack's got its charm and it's fun and it's danceable and all this stuff, but this is a really surprisingly good song. Really good song. So 10-9 for Rome.
Brian?
All right. Let's start off with The Wrong Child. It starts off with I will try to sing a happy song. I'll try to make a happy game to play. Despite those lyrics, it's not a happy song. This is another song
That's
with...
an understatement.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Another song with some ambiguous lyrics where he says, I told my friend myself. Is he telling a friend, somebody else, or is he himself the friend? Whatever the situation, it's a real dark and sad song about a child that's either confined physically or emotionally. I think the string combination of the acoustic guitar and the mandolin, and Pete said there weren't any keys in there. I thought I heard some piano in there. It keeps it real quiet and dark. As far as Rome goes, a couple of months ago, a friend posted some inspirational quote on Facebook or whatever. It's that I can't find anymore. But the message was something along the lines of, you can make back the money, but you can't invent the memories. Take the trip. Personally, as my family, it's always important for us to take a vacation. We budget it in every year, and somehow we fit it in, and we get the experience of going someplace new and seeing new things. And that's kind of what they're saying in the song. Not quite. They're advocating vagrancy a little bit more. As far as this, they wrap it around in a nice poppy beat. I love the guitar work, and I kind of got a soft spot for those synthesized hand claps. So it's a song where I appreciate the message. And another round goes to the happier song for this one. It's 10-9 for the B52s.
All right, well, let's do round 7, Brushfire versus Orange Crush. Richard, this is your round. Kick us off.
For Brushfire, I put interesting. This sounds like another song, but I can't place it, and I still don't know. And then I wrote the question: was this in a movie? I don't know. Something about this song is familiar, and I don't remember for what. I don't know for what reason. It's a strong choice. It's a good song, but it's going up against Orange Crush, which I think is the best song on this album. Jangle Pop Guitar, which hits me in my lizard brain. Mike Mills Rules again, and this is REM to me. This sound is REM. And Pete, you'll love this. I wrote it down as a note. It has some U2 overtones to it.
Yes.
So I went 10-9 for Orange Crush.
Yeah, for me, round 7, Brushfire is so close to being a great song. I love the whole smoke in your eyes voice thing that they do. I mean, you want to not keep saying, hey, Cindy and Kate can sing, but guess what? They can sing.
They really sing.
And they really drive what this band is. And there's so much South. There's so much the South in this. And when we're all unfairly critical of the South and, oh, they're a bunch of bigots and closed-minded, racists and all that kind of... Yeah, but you know what, though? Don't miss this stuff, though, because it's wonderful. There's so many good things in here. The B52s are a hell of a band. And though this song isn't quite what Orange Crush is, you've got to spend a moment and say, Cindy and Kate are sirens. And they will sing you and make you go, I'm going to put my family in a minivan and drive on a vacation we can't afford every year because we got to roam because Cindy and Kate said so. They make taking that leap with them, to go out and dance in torn sheets in the rain. They make that shit a good idea because they're goddamn sirens. And Fred's out there going, he's just your devil on your shoulder, shaking up a martini going, do it. I love the heck out of this song. But it's Orange Crush. And like you said, Richard, this is REM being REM. They're a political band, and there's a lot of bands that sing about their dad in Vietnam, but, this song is something more. This is...
Can I just pipe in here since you're on that topic? This isn't a preachy political song, but it's a political song, and that's right. All I ask for in my... I want my rock to be irreverent, and I want them to talk about stuff, but I don't want it to sound like whining. And here they do it with smart word choice, and it's not just, here's my agenda, listen to me, hear me. It's just a strong political statement wrapped in a good song. And I just had to kind of bounce in. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, no, they do it. They straddle that line nicely. Pearl Jam goes over it sometimes. And that's the band I think of when I think of doing too much, where you're actually making me embrace the thing you hate. So I don't think this song does that. And I think it's very much like this one goes out to the one I love. It's the same vein, same kind of vibe. And, they're just, these are the songs that allow them to tour for the rest of their lives if they want to. They haven't chosen to do it. But this is one of those songs that when they do their last tour ever, they'll have this and they'll know exactly when to drop it in, and it's one of the ones that will always be on the list. It's a fantastic song. I've got this round 10-9 for REM. Brian, why don't you do round 7?
All right. First off, both you guys got to check your eyes. The title of the song is Bushfire, not Brushfire. And when I see a title called Bushfire and I see Kate Pearson, the first thing I think of, it's impure. I'm going to tell you that much. She's got that bright red hair and the song titled Bushfire. Hey now, this is my kind of party. Right? They're singing about landscapes burning red. If you've got a fire and you can't put it out, I need your arms to take me down. We're talking about burning loins here, folks. Whether you're into the innies or the outies, it's time to get down. As great as the theme is, I thought the song itself dragged a little. There was too much repetition for me, and the song could benefit from about a 90-second haircut. Orange Crush, gosh, I really struggle with this song. Obviously it's about Vietnam and Agent Orange, and there's some vivid imagery and important messages in there. We are the agents of the free. I've had my fun. Now it's time to serve your conscience overseas. High on the booze in a tent paved with blood. I know Michael Stipe's dad was in Vietnam. My dad was in Vietnam too. So this is a personal song, and it's a powerful message. But they wrap that in this sugary pop package, and I just can't accept that. It misses the mark for me. So I wound up scoring this one 10-9 for the B52s.
I'm gonna completely disagree. There's nothing sugary pop about that sound. The military type drums, and no, I can't. No.
I like the use of the helicopter effect too, and the use of the harmonics on the.
That just
guitar.
broke my heart, Brian.
Fantastic.
I'm sorry, that's the way I heard it.
Brian,
you obviously misfired on Bushfire too, so I mean I don't know.
I didn't say the word brushfire once. That was yeah. No, we're offshore. We're with this out.
Richard, this is your round. Kick us off.
For brushfire,
All right, but since you're breaking hearts, Brian, keep on breaking them. Round 8, Channel Z versus Turn You Inside Out. What do you got?
All right, Turn You Inside Out. Finally, it's an REM song that's in my wheelhouse. It's got that fuzzy guitar-driven rocker. I love the background vocals. I think it's Mike Mills, the work in the intro. Is it a song about blackmail? Is it about stalking? Or something like that? But it's a welcome reprieve from the kind of the ear fatigue I've been feeling from the repeated kind of REM sound. Channel Z. I keep repeating the same thing about the B52s. It's a fun song. It's a song that gets you moving. I'm going to make a comparison by bringing in a third act to the album fight. It's almost as if somebody went and wrote down an idea for a song and gave it to Billy Joel and the B52s. Billy Joel gave us We Didn't Start the Fire, and the B52s gave us Channel Z. So in the end, which one's more fun? JFK blowing away, what else do I have to say? Or Fred Schneider saying, ozone hole, better put up my umbrella?
Fred
I think you know
Schneider.
the answer.
Fred Schneider.
This round was tough, but I wound up giving it to REM and that change of pace sound with 10-9.
All right. For me, round 8 was, Channel Z is a snapshot. Dated in snapshot. Who even says that anymore? All right, that's not even a thing. But this is the late 80s, and what mattered then, the polar shift. I totally remember that being a thing. Like, this is about to happen, the polar shift and the ozone layer. And how ironic is it that a band singing about the ozone layer has got girls with giant hairdos that clearly are fueled by
Aquanet.
Yeah, it's great. They're singing about super fun sites and all those things, and so it's kind of cool to think those things are either solved or dealt with, or they're just no longer the highest priority topics. But it doesn't make that song not like there's still always something you can put in the spot. Kind of like you were saying, Brian, like you could just update it with like, whatever global warming would be one of the things you'd put in there. So it's a cool way to approach it. And also just the whole media was changing, right? Like cable was becoming 50 channels from a few years before, people having literally 3. In our hometown, we had a bunch of channels. This was group sat up on a hill, but Channel Z, there was so much noise coming in, and now it feels like, gosh, there's so much cross information, everything else. Channel Z is just, I'm fatigued from all those things. So this is a really prophetic song, and I love that Cindy Wilson gets to sing this thing, and man, she does her chance and does not miss. I really like what they do with this and the frantic nature. And again, another U2 connection, because they go down this road just a couple of years later with Octoon Baby and Zoo TV and all that stuff. This is all...
You're right. There's a lot of Zoo TV.
Totally, right?
Channel Z. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's even Channel Z, like Zoo TV, Channel Z. Like, am I reading too much in? But I don't think so. Turn You Inside Out. I love it. This is a groove song. The band locks down on something and they get to work. It's not enough to get past Channel Z, but it's tough to really separate these songs. But I just think what Channel Z does and how it applies a couple of years down the road and how it's still kind of relevant in the message that it gives, while still being fun, I think is a little bit better than what they turned in on Turn You Inside Out. So I'm going to go B52's 10-9. Richard?
I agree. And this is one of those where production comes into play. Great energy on Channel Z. The disco overtones work here. So I'd written down, way to go, Nile Rodgers. You used your disco background and you nailed it and you got it right. Well, turned out it was Don Was that produced this track, which shocked me, but just goes to show where you can insert certain other kind of music and make it work in their kind of little bitches brew that they kind of come up with their uniqueness. And that really shocked me that it wasn't Nile Rodgers, because there's disco written all over this thing.
Totally.
They're getting political in a B52 way. I love this. Can't help it. Perfectly produced. And then over to REM, I said, it's the most un-REM opening of any song I can think of. And then it slams right into Document, right into a Document sounding song, which Pete's heard me talk about it. Document is one of my Desert Island albums. It sounds reminiscent very much of the Finest Work song. It's almost a 70s rock song. This sounds better now than it did then, I think. And I thought the organ in this song was a nice touch. But I'm with Pete. The energy and the message of Channel Z really works for me. So I gave it 10-9 for the B52s.
All right, fellas, we're coming into it here. We got the penultimate round right now. Round 9, Topaz versus Hair Shirt. I really wish that Topaz was going against I Remember California, because it would show what a good vacation versus a bullshit vacation is. But we did not get that round, unfortunately. But, oh, man, I would have loved to have heard it. So, look, this is the band that roams singing about a place they went. And I just love the images. And really, REM's about to sing about California. They could be singing about California. I don't know where Topaz is, but apparently it's a really fun and beautiful place. It twinkles, it sparkles, starfish spin. It's just, this is B52s doing what they do. And this is why I think this album is special, because even though this song isn't like a huge hit, man, you listen to it, you're like, God damn, this song is really good. They really create images, and they absolutely remove you from the room and put you in Topaz. And I love them for doing that. I just cannot get enough of it. And then you got hair shirt. First problem is what the fuck is a hair shirt? Now I gotta grab my encyclopedia and start looking up what that is.
Let me tell you what it is.
No, I
learned it from a
You
Bare Naked
Googled
Ladies
it.
song.
You Googled it, didn't you?
I learned this a long time ago, but I think the point is because I had to look it up a long time ago, back when it was an encyclopedia. But Michael Stipe does weird stuff, and he brings weird Southern things in, like Losing My Religion and all these other Southern things. This is more of the South being brought in, and I love the risks that REM has taken. They're doing what they want to do here, but Hair Shirt, they're still the weird kid, and for these two wonderful albums, and I do think they're special albums. I think this, if there's going to be a separation, I'm gonna do the Brian thing, and I'm gonna go with this happier song. And go B52s 10-9. Richard, how did you have round 9?
Okay, well, as far as the B52s, I said this sounds contemporary. This is one of those songs that doesn't really sound dated at the least bit. It's trippy. Vocally, if you're familiar, there's a little kind of... Their vocals match so perfectly. They remind me a lot of Tegan and Sara. Especially since Tegan and Sara kind of started going electronic. It just really sounds like one of their songs. But to me, it's kind of it's a little bit of a mid-tier song. There's some modern EDM kind of in here. Also, like bands like M83, if anybody's familiar with that, the song Midnight City. But to me, it's a little, I wouldn't call it filler, but I'd say it's more kind of second tier as far as songs go. As far as Hair Shirt goes, it's stripped down and simple, fantastic vocals. Mandolin is an excellent touch. The way I kind of, sometimes when I have to break ties or when I have to kind of really kind of think, why do I like a song better? You can imagine being in a theater where a concert's been going on, and then all of a sudden the vibe kind of changes and you just have a mood. And you can hear this in a quiet theater or arena, and it's powerful. And the imagery of the Hair Shirt is so perfect because it goes back to medieval times. It's about redemption. It's about penance. And it's just such a subtle song. This is what I love about REM. 10-9 REM in this round.
Brian, how did you do it? Did you get it right?
Of course I got it right. Got it right as far as I'm concerned. And Topaz, is that Bob Seger? Where'd that sax come from and where'd it go?
Hilarious. That's great.
This song, it does a good job of highlighting the vocals, especially Kate and Cindy. It shows that Fred can be used more than just comic relief, but quite honestly, it bores me. It just sounds like they're standing at the window of their hotel and looking out and describing what they see. Kind of makes me drowsy. Hair Shirt, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I have a small collection of stringed instruments. I got 2 guitars, I got a ukulele, and I got a mandolin. I've had the mandolin for almost a year, and I don't even know where to begin with it. I tuned it. I tried to start a lesson and I put it down. It's still there, up against the wall in my living room. Hair Shirt, it's a typical brooding Michael Stipe forward REM song. It's got some real nice mandolin work, and that was enough for me in this one, so I scored it 10-9 for REM.
Yeah, Brian got it right after all. Yay!
I go with Brian and his happy, shiny people style thing, and we end up...
He swerves. We're swerving this. We knew this was going to be a tight fight.
I know, it's super tight. Well, and right now, I mean, just without letting the audience know too much, on the cards, it's still a tight fight going into the last round. But It is time for the last round. So round 10, I Remember California, Follow Your Bliss. Go ahead, Brian, kick us off.
I remember California. I don't have to remember California. I live here. I never lived anywhere else. I have redwood trees in my backyard, and I've never seen a wolverine. And my second favorite use of tangerine in popular music. I guess Stipe is looking at a future where California doesn't exist, but I'm pretty sure that if California gets destroyed, I'm going with it. Musically, the guitar work does add to the fantasy quality of this song. I like the way the drums and the bass work with Stipe's vocals during the verse, even if I'm not fond of the vocals themselves. Follow Your Bliss. gosh, it's really unfortunate that they chose to end with this instrumental. It's an okay instrumental, but really not what I want the B52s to do. The guitar work with the string bending is okay, but listening to this, I kept wanting to hear lyrics, and lyrics kept popping into my head. And it was something that I was familiar with, but not that familiar with, and I finally figured out that it just reminds me of Insensitive by Jan Arden, which is this CD my wife bought in the 90s. I think both of these albums ended with a thud. I think they could have both done better with what they had to work with. In the end, for having lyrics and not reminding me of Jan Arden, it's 10-9 for REM.
All right. Well, I guess we'll let you close out, Richard. So I'll take on. I remember, here's again the wrong kid going to the right place and still feeling wrong. And we've seen the young version of this kid. We saw him in World Leader pretend as a self-reflective dude, and I'm a little bit tired of him. And gosh, I don't think that this is a bad song. This is also, if Orange Crush leans more towards the document end of their progression, this is a song that leans more towards Monster and what's coming down the road. So it does call forward. And it's a decent song. I'm just a little worn out on the shoegazing stuff and the weird kid thing. It does go against Follow Your Bliss. And I'm like, ooh, good, Follow Your Bliss. All right, yeah, let's listen. And I literally totally forgotten about this song. And it's because it's an instrumental. And as good as, look, these guys play instruments just fine. Right, but no one's coming to hear Keith Strickland play the guitar and whoever they hire for drums and rhythm. No one's here for that. Yes, this band can hold down the groove and do it, but it's just a shame. This band exists because of Fred and the Ladies, and if they're not going to put us in these alternate realities and do their, shabby chic shit, these people invented that stuff. They were shabby chic before it was even that. So give me that. Don't leave me hanging with this. And so all of a sudden, I remember California becomes something because we go somewhere again on a ride. And I actually was really disappointed the B52s for letting me down on this. And I went 10-8 REM. Richard, what'd you do?
I'm probably going to cuss a lot this round, so I'll just go ahead and warn the listener. I'll start with REM here because, boy, am I going to finish with B52s on this. I said that Turn You Inside Out was the most un-REM opening. This is the most REM opening with shades of document in the opening. Again, I've got Mike Mills pointed out here. Listen to his bass work. The guy's a genius. There's great build-up in this song. Mills' backing vocals are on point. But I will admit, this is not a casual REM fan song. This is kind of someone who's deep diving into REM. I call it an advanced REM song. It's not exactly what people who are just going to kind of skim through an album for the hits kind of thing. What the fuck is that song doing on that album? I'm on B52s now, and yeah. So I'm writing my notes as I'm listening, and my first note is this is an overly long intro. And so I realized it's the fucking song.
Mm-hmm.
I've got there. You can hear Hall & Oates in this. You can hear Prince in this. Oh, way overproduction. Bad synth choices throughout. I've got. Is this a karaoke track? That they stuck on the end of an album. Why do you fucking end an album with this? Now, let me just listen to me. I'm gonna produce this album for you real quick. Put this somewhere in the middle of the album. Just have this as this little kind of dreamy track in the middle to kind of break up the craziness of the B52s. End the album with fucking Channel Z. End on that kind of an energy. This just kills every bit of energy that they have just bought for us up earlier in this album, and they just kill it at the end. I don't get it. 10-8, easy. It's the easiest 10-8 I've ever had to score. It's fucking stupid.
All right, it's fucking stupid is how we're going to end it.
Wrap it up.
But I got to agree. I mean, it was a disappointing end because I so badly want something from the B52s. I just want more. They were so on a roll, but when they needed around, they didn't get it. And I think that costs them the fight in terms of what we see. I'm looking here at the final scores, and I'm just talking the official judges here. But all three of us have this fight going to REM, and it's close. It's one round difference, really. But for me, when I heard it, fellas, I was like, oh, B52s were one good song short, and they left half a song in the ring, and it was just look, obviously, none of this stuff really happened, but it's like they just quit halfway through the 10th round and said, we're not going to win anyhow. So they just didn't deliver, and it's so Richard has it 96-93, Brian has it 95-94, and I have it 94-92. Brian, what are your thoughts when you look at the scorecard and you see what we've done, what the other judges have done?
The round I keep coming back to, and I kept coming back to after I saw my final score, was I think it was round 8, Turn You Inside Out against Channel Z. Outside of the album fight, if I looked at these two songs in a vacuum, I might have flipped my score to the B52s, but in the flow of the fight and the way that REM was leading into the song, I gave this round to them. That's really the one swing round in terms of how it ended. And honestly, going through this fight, I thought the B52s were starting to run away with it, and I had them losing, I think, the last 3 rounds to just spit the bit.
That's funny, because I have winning 2 of the last 3 rounds, but
okay. We got to the same place, though.
Yeah, we end up at the same spot. Yeah, that's the funny part. Richard, what about you?
You say this all the time on the album fights, but this isn't like a bunch of people, we're not pissing and moaning and bitching. I loved every minute of this. I like both of these albums a lot. When you came to me and said, hey, do you want to guest judge for this? And I'm like, but wait a minute, which REM album is it? And you said Green. I'm like, oh, okay, great, perfect, because this isn't an album I've ever kind of held precious, where I felt like I'd have to defend it or anything. I could just look at it, really objectively. And I will freely admit, Cosmic Thing is a much better album than I remember or than I thought it was going to be. It was as close as the pre-fight kind of said it was going to be. And I think my final conclusion on the pre-fight, I think, kind of nailed it. I think when it comes down to it, when you've got popular and fun versus kind of serious and critically acclaimed, I think, I can't speak for myself, but we got 2 people here that know their music. They're probably going to agree more with critics than popularity, and I think the outcome. I think Brian's right. You could probably take 1 round and swing it, and it would change the entire fight. So I think it was one of the closest fights I've listened to so far.
Yeah, it was super close. There were rounds that might have gone differently, and we certainly had some difference. What did we have? 2 unanimous rounds, and one of those unanimous rounds, the B52s won, and one of those rounds, the B52s lost. So it's that close where each band is able to get points in, even in a round when they, over the course of all the judges, lose. But everybody's pretty much agreeing that these are very balanced albums. Man, it's an interesting fight. I really like you. I love the hell out of it. I love listening to B52s. What songs stuck in your guys' ears? What earwormed you?
Well, obviously the hits. I mean, Channel Z, Love Shack, and Rome. Bushfire really grew in my mind after I gave it a real good listen. The REM side, Stand, is always a freaking earworm. That song, it gets in my head and it sticks there for days at a time.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure we leave time for Richard to come back around and do his patent pending analysis post-fight.
Well, it looks like the patent pending process held up this week as we had a very close fight, 285 to 279. Or after averaging the official scores, it was a 95 to 93 fight, which is essentially a 5-3 fight with 2 tied rounds, maybe a couple knockdowns or something like that. We said it was going to be close. Throw in the unofficial cards and it gets even closer with pretty much a tie on scores, 657 to 656 or a 93.8 to 93.7, this time leaning towards the B52s. Overall, the 3 official cards all went to REM. Throwing in the unofficial cards, it was 5-2 for REM. So let's dig deep to see what pulled out the win for REM. Expected rounds weren't what did it for REM, that's for sure here. The B52s scored 8 out of their 9 points in expected rounds. REM only managed to get 4 of theirs. And this is what we see with albums that are clear popularity numbers winners. They have really high highs, but the lows tend to be lower. I'll explain. Where you see the difference is in unanimous rounds. Both had 2. Well, how does that tell us anything? Well, hear me out and follow the logic. The B52's unanimous rounds were in their expected rounds, but REM's were not in their expected rounds. They were just in regular rounds. Now, we already established this would be a close match, so you could assume that each band will get 50% of those rounds outside of the expected rounds. For 2 of those rounds, REM got all of those points, essentially giving them 3 extra points. So plus 3 points to REM for those unanimous rounds. Then when you look at knockdowns, REM went down only once, and the B52s went down 4 times, giving REM another plus 3 on points. How much did they win by? 6 points. And there you have it. Back to you guys.
All right. Well, Richard, what do you think? Do you agree with yourself?
Oh, he's an asshole. You could rearrange the song orders on this, and I think you could get a completely different fight every time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just bad. There were a couple of 10-8 rounds for y'all. Mine was pretty obvious. There were a few of your 10-8s surprised me a little bit, but this could, you change a couple of songs in their order, and it's a completely different fight here. And it is also a product of the song v song. I think the albums are equal. I think they're equal. Like, now I'm going to listen to the REM album because I prefer REM, but I think quality wise they're equal. So you could throw any order of these, and you're going to run. They're just going to go back and forth with who wins and everything. Earworm songs. I mean, Orange Crush is just, it's damn near perfect to me. And I really like Channel Z. I like the kind of pounding energy of Channel Z a lot. That's one that can get stuck in your head. And Deadbeat Club, the weirdness of it.
Yeah, it's a good song.
The real falsetto high voices they use in there. And then Fred just coming in, Deadbeat Club.
Yeah.
I mean, what's not to love?
What's not to love? Let me do a little bit of work here for us, guys. So one of the things you guys got to understand, there is a hidden track, very, very 90s, even though it's an 80s album, very 90s to have a hidden track. And when Richard and I talked about making this fight, making it official, we discussed that because we always want to be fair. And so we definitely talked about it. And it actually works out because Follow Your Bliss, it wasn't going to withstand a 1 song, let alone a 2-song barrage. So we didn't really include that. If the band wasn't going to credit the song openly, then we were just going to say, hey, you know what? In this case, we're not even going to worry about it. So we let that go. And of course, the official disclaimer: we love these albums. Richard talked about it. They're in the ring because we want to see what happens. We want to battle for Athens. And I've owned both of these albums on several formats. I say this all the time, but it remains to be true. I am a huge, huge REM fan, and I've always liked the B52s, going back Planet Idaho, My Own Private Idaho, all the way back. So I love these groups, and so when we are critical, it's critical in terms of we want to have the ability to have these conversations. But Brian did, I think it was in round 4, whatever round it was, when you really just got it. That was fantastic. And I love sharing these moments with you guys. So thank you for coming on the show with me.
Hey, man, that's what music does.
Richard, anything in closing?
No, I had fun. I have scored, I think, every album fight, even back in the days when it was just a Twitter game. This is absolutely one of the most fun ones I've ever had. A great addition. Finally talking about the Athens scene. I'm going to put the one thing I do want to say is I am going to put out an adjunct playlist. It's already made. It's 3 hours of bands that started in the Athens scene.
Sweet.
It is fantastic.
Right.
There are a lot of bands you've heard of course, REM, B52s, Matthew Sweet. I've got Widespread Panic in there. But then there's some bands I'd never heard of before, and I've become a fan of some bands I never even knew existed until I put this playlist together. So I'll be putting that out same day as the episode goes.
Yeah, that should be said. Brian and Richard both put out playlists. If you guys ever want to score on Google Play and on Spotify, you will find playlists for these things. Also, I was going to throw out, so we've got a little bit more organized. I've been working hard at doing this, but the next album fight is announced. It's going to be the Kinks, Lola versus Power Man and the Money Ground Part 1 versus The Clash, and we're going to have Todd Namath and his buddy Jeff Getter, and it's going to be a 3 dudes all worked at Tower kind of fight. And then pretty quickly after that, we're going to have Brian back in the T-shirt tuxedo sitting ringside with me. And we're going to do Beck Morning. Actually, he's going to be sitting ringside with John.
We're doing that with John, right?
Yeah, Beck Morning Phase versus, get this, Kendrick Lamar Damn. And the winner of that fight is going to go against Abbey Road. And that's going to be something special. So there's some really exciting album fights coming up in September. And I'm not even going to tell you what's coming in October because it's crazy. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with me.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.